Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are going to completely upend your vocabulary routine by decoding 12 trending newspaper words that are literally designed to make you a sharper, much more confident reader. You know, if you've ever stared at a front page headline and felt just a little bit lost in all that complex language, well, you're in the right place. We're taking a fascinating look directly at a source document that compiles some of the most crucial, trending vocabulary used in modern journalism. We're going to break these words down, look at some really brilliant memory hints, and build up your confidence so you can read any news story like an absolute pro.
Instead of just throwing a long list at you, we've structured this into 3 engaging parts. First, emotions and human reactions. Second, actions, obstacles, and movements. And finally, politics, rules, and speech.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Emotions and Human Reactions.
We're kicking things off by exploring 4 terms that really highlight the human element: solicitude, disconcerting, falter, and despondency. These are incredibly powerful descriptors that journalists use to set the mood, whether they're talking about an individual's personal struggles or the collective feeling of an entire nation.
So our very first word is solicitude. It's a noun, and it basically means deep care or concern. You might read in an article that someone is full of solicitude, which is honestly just a beautiful, formal way of describing genuine consideration and care. It's that kind of attentive support that truly touches someone when they're going through a tough time.
Now, while solicitude is comforting, our next word is, well, the exact opposite: disconcerting. This perfectly illustrates an upsetting or alarming situation, like a deeply uncomfortable silence. When you read that someone has a disconcerting habit, it means their behavior is making everyone else feel uncertain, uncomfortable, or worried. Think of words like disturbing or upsetting. It's that gut feeling you get when something just isn't quite right.
And you know, when faced with a disconcerting situation, a person might just falter. This is a verb meaning to hesitate, waver, or completely lose your confidence and determination. You'll see this all the time in journalism, when reporters are describing someone under intense pressure. For example, they might note that a politician's voice faltered and he stopped speaking. Or, on the flip side, they might write that someone's friends never faltered in their belief in her.
Okay, check out this brilliant little mnemonic hint straight from our source. Remember falter as failing to utter a word due to your hesitation. If you look at the spelling, actually just sound it out. Failing to utter. Falter. It's a fantastic little trick to permanently lock this definition right into your memory.
But what happens when that faltering spirals into a complete lack of hope? That's when we reach despondency. It's the sheer lack of hope or enthusiasm, entirely synonymous with gloom, depression, and despair. It's a noun describing the quality of being incredibly unhappy. A journalist might use this to describe the macro-level mood of a population, like noting there's a mood of gloom and despondency in the country. Or on a micro level, stating that an individual felt a deep despondency.
Moving right along to Section 2, Actions, Obstacles, and Movements.
Here we're looking at the action on the ground. We've got 4 super dynamic verbs that describe movement and entrapment: tether, usher, mire, and upend. When you read these words, you should immediately visualize physical actions taking place, people being guided, things being tied down, or situations being completely flipped over.
Let's start with tether. To tether means to physically tie someone or something up, hitching or binding them using a rope or a chain. For instance, you might be warned not to tether the goats indoors, or you might read about how a harness tethers a sailor securely to a boat. It is all about binding something firmly in place.
The crucial trick to remembering this is so simple. Just split the word tether into tie plus her to securely lock it in your brain. You tie her with a rope. It's a highly visual breakdown of the word that makes recalling its definition of tying or binding absolutely effortless. Once someone is untethered, you might usher them to their next destination. This means to guide someone or initiate a start. You might read that officials quickly ushered the protesters out of the hall, or maybe she ushered us to her office. An incredibly easy way to remember this is by the hidden phrase right in the word itself: usher. You sit here. Because, that is exactly what an usher does. They show you where you sit. But what happens when progress completely stops? You end up in a mire. This is a fantastic term that means to cause a truck to become stuck in the mud, or maybe for a country to become trapped in an inescapable civil war. It works as both a verb and a noun. Literally, it means mud or marsh. Figuratively, it represents a seriously unpleasant situation. you'll constantly see warnings in opinion columns like, "We must not be drawn into the mire of civil war." Need a way to remember it? Think of mire as M plus wired. Because when you are completely wired up, you are hopelessly entangled. If you picture wires all tangled up around you, it perfectly captures that feeling of being stuck in a marsh, mud, or a complex situation that you just cannot easily escape from. And finally, for this section, when a situation in the mire needs to be totally changed, you upend it. This means to turn something downside up or inside out, just like upending a chessboard when the game isn't going your way. Another common example would be a toddler who upended the laundry basket and left clothes all over the floor. To remember it, just think up plus end. You take the end and you flip it up.
Okay, let's head into our final part, Section 3, Politics, Rules, and Speech.
This is the political landscape, and we are going to decode 4 heavy-hitting authoritative terms that dominate front-page headlines: annul, rhetoric, faction, and preclude. Just understanding these 4 words alone will drastically improve your comprehension of political analysis and legal reporting.
So, to annul is to officially declare that something, like an election or a marriage, is completely reversed, abolished, and no longer legally valid. You might read about a marriage being annulled after just 6 months, or opposition leaders pressing for an entire election to be annulled. It is entirely synonymous with invalidating or canceling.
Here's a really cool hint. Especially if you know anything about computer programming, you know that a null value is totally void and canceled out in C programming, right? So if a court decides to annul something, they're literally making it void, blank, and legally non-existent. Moving from the courtroom to the podium, we have rhetoric. This is a noun describing impressive oratory and eloquence intended to influence people. Though, let's be honest, it's often criticized for lacking direct action. This is exactly why you constantly see opinion pieces arguing what is required is direct action, not rhetoric. Or someone might admit they were swayed by a politician's rhetoric. It's all about public speaking that might just be a little insincere.
And our source document has a brilliant breakdown for this one. If you have the right oral skills, you can communicate incredibly well. Just listen to the sound of the word. Rhetoric. Right oral skills. It's literally right there. It is a fantastic way to link the pronunciation directly to its definition of public speaking. Finally, let's quickly map out our last 2 words. A faction is an organized group of people within a larger group that opposes some of its ideas. Think of it as a rebellious fraction of a larger party. And to preclude is to prevent something or make it impossible entirely. Just remember to pre-conclude and cancel a program. For instance, a contract might preclude an employee from discussing their work outside the company.
Wow, we have really covered a lot of ground in this explainer today, from the despondency of a faltering economy to the rhetoric of political factions. So, I'm going to leave you with this. Will you let the complex rhetoric of newspapers preclude your understanding? Or are you ready to upend your reading habits, conquer the headlines, and sound smarter today? Keep these concepts handy, use those memory hints, and the next time you pick up a paper, you'll be reading it with complete clarity. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep learning.